What we do here is go back.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Promised End podcast. This is Zar from Chinderi Beats.
And this is John from Oh My, it's John. I am not raunchy today. But anyway, guys, today we would like to talk with you about the different classes present in a video game.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of classes nowadays. There you have your necromancers, summoners, etc. But all of them, me and Zara thinks that all of them came from four basic classes that were present in the Western's Dungeons and Dragons game.
Basically, you have your four basic classes. You have your warrior, you have your thief, or rather rogue. Your rogue. Then you have your mage, and lastly, you have your cleric.
So what do these four, classes or jobs, roles do?
Well, in the classic Western RPG system, Dungeons and Dragons,
The tabletop RPGs.
yes, you have the warrior is your basic fighter, capable of wearing light to heavy armor. They typically will wield melee weapons. You have your swords, axes, two-handed swords, shields even. Also, they're generally the defender of the group. Most of the time, the warrior takes the brunt of the damage for
He's the
for the party
frontliner?
for the party members. Yes, he's the typical frontliner of the party because role-playing games, RPGs, these type of games rely on coordination between players with different roles. Because if you know, oh, go ahead, John.
And what's weird is, I think most players forget the sense of that party or coordination these days. Because almost everyone wants to be the hero.
Yes, everyone wants to be the dual-wielding
Dual-wielding
katana
Black
warrior.
swordsman, demon, faster.
But yeah, but back in the day, you have to have a diverse party, diverse group of party members in order for you to properly tackle a dungeon. Because especially some games have traps, locked doors,
And even enemies that don't particularly take a certain amount of damage. For example, when your dungeon master suddenly goes brutal on you and suddenly you face slimes. These slimes do not take any melee damage
yes,
at all.
they don't take any physical damage, and that's
And
where
then
your
your-
mage
you-
comes in. You have trolls who revive even if you kill them unless you burn them, and that is your primary role as a mage is to inflict these elemental damages to these enemies. And you have your cleric, basically blessed by the gods.
Like me?
Clerics
Heal.
get their powers from
A
their
holy being.
deities.
Their
Yes,
deities.
they pray and they gain spells or powers directly from whoever they worship. And in most cases, these clerics deal with outsider enemies from other dimensions, or even the undead. They're the ones who have domain over that kind of
They banish
they banish
the
outsiders, and they also turn the undead.
That's one of the most popular skills ever.
Turn undead. Back in the day, I didn't even know what turn undead was. I thought when you said turn undead,
You turn someone
you
undead.
turn someone into the undead.
No.
But it's actually when you cast turn undead on an undead enemy, it has a chance of instantly killing that enemy. That's what clerics are for, and they usually they also have they also usually take on the role of healers
And support,
and support.
like with buffs.
Yep, and disables. They disable enemies. They buff their party members, heal them as well. Then you have the rogue class.
Let me talk about the rogue
Oh
class.
yeah, go ahead.
This
You
is-
get the edgiest.
This is my realm. So the rogue class mostly has the advantage of movement.
Mhm.
They have the farthest movement capabilities out of all the classes.
Yes.
They are extremely agile. They can deal extra critical rolls.
Yeah.
And this is in the old
System.
the old
yeah.
system. They deal extra critical rolls instead of just getting 6. Some rules will give you criticals even if you roll a 5 or 6. That's a higher chance of getting criticals for your rogue character.
Also,
And
extra damage from flanking or
from
sneak
flanking,
attacks.
yes, from flanking, aka backstabbing the
Backstab,
enemies,
Yeah.
and do some of the important rogue skills are dirty fighting.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you shove sand or kick someone in the groin
Basically, you do everything you can
just to
win.
win.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's the rogue's idea of winning. It's doing everything they can just to win, even if it means playing dirty.
Yes.
And not only sometimes, but a lot of times in the early games, those are things that are really important whenever you are in a party, because some dungeon runs, for example, faces you with a treasure chest, but suddenly it's locked. Without a rogue, you can't open it
Yeah. It can also be locked and trapped.
at the same time. And without a rogue, you're probably screwed.
Yeah. So you're facing a chest, right, and it's locked, but you don't know if it's trapped or not. Only a rogue would be able to tell you if, hey,
Trap sense.
that chest is trapped. So even if you like say you're a warrior, right? So the least of your problems is the trap itself, and you just try to open the chest and you find out that it's locked, then that's fine. But if the chest is also trapped, the moment you touch it, it kills you.
That's gonna be
Or deals damage,
or
yeah.
calls a dragon.
Calls a dragon.
That's the worst thing that could happen. You suddenly touch the treasure chest. A loud rumble. You can hear a loud rumble from the ceiling. A dragon shows up.
Did this ever happen in any of your RPG sessions?
Do you have a very sadistic dungeon master? Comment below if you do. We would like to hear your story. Well, anyway, that's the rogues' talents and skills in a nutshell.
They are also sometimes relegated to the role of range fighters as well.
Yes, range fighters. They are very proficient with bows, crossbows,
Throwing knives. Yeah.
And I don't know, throwing rocks.
Throwing rocks as well, yes.
Throwing rocks.
Mm-hmm. Slingshots as well, yeah.
Those are the roles of the rogue. Kind of like a secondary support or a carry killer in the game. Next, since Zar already mentioned earlier the role of the mage, let's just expound a bit.
Yes.
The mage are massive nukers. They are the slowest characters in the whole game, but they pack the most punch.
Mm-hmm.
These are the guys that waste one turn just to cast one massive fireball
spell,
into the enemies, and that should probably kill anything that moves in one hit.
Yeah, in some cases they also have disabling spells and buffing spells as well, but more in an offensive kind of way, like inflaming your weapon,
armors.
Yeah, enchanting your armor, even capable of casting light if it's dark.
And not only that, mages also control non-elemental magic for those situations that doesn't allow you to use any elemental magic at all. You have the infamous magic missile.
Oh yes, of course.
You have that, and that's the most basic mage spell ever. But it's also
magic
one
missile,
of the
magic arrows.
But that's one of the spells that you would continue to use because it doesn't eat that much mana.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the four classes in a nutshell. You have the warrior as the tank, the frontliner, the buffest of the group. You have the cleric, the support, the healer, the one who takes care of the well-being of each and everyone of the whole party. Then you have the rogue, the one who does everything to ensure all of you guys survive.
Yes.
And
get the most loot out of the dungeon.
the most loot out of the dungeon.
Oh, they're also capable of pickpocketing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna expound on that later on those things when we go to the next segment. Then you have the mage, which is the powerhouse.
Yes.
It's mostly only at the back, chanting spells.
But typically a glass cannon.
It's really a glass cannon.
They can't wear heavy armor.
Clothes.
Only clothing. Yeah.
Clothes armor.
Unlike the rogue can at least wear light armor. Yeah.
The cleric can actually
wear heavy.
Wear heavy cloth and heavy, no light armor. And now we go on to the more exciting part, the subsets.
Yeah.
So those four classes are the basis, right? So a lot of games right now, and even the more modern Dungeons and Dragons and some other tabletop games or RPG games. RPG games, really, John? RPGs often have subsets for each classes, and these are really you can call this note this we will give out a game name that utilizes the subsets strategy a lot. There's Ragnarok Online.
Yep.
It really brought out one of its most beautiful things that it included in the game is your ability to choose the job you like.
Yes.
It's kind of like the old Dungeons and Dragons, and your growth pattern. For example, the swordsman class, the warrior class, the token swordsman class, it has two paths. There's the knight and the crusader. The knight focuses more on the offensive side.
Yes.
You can either go, and also in the knight you can either go two paths as well.
Yes.
Three paths.
Okay.
There's one hand.
Yes.
One hand sword. You have spear type.
Yes.
And one hand spear type and two hand. That's three viable play styles in one path.
Yes.
Then you have the crusader, which can only go one hand spear or two hand spears, but are more focused on having very defensive builds.
Yes, it's similar to a paladin class from long ago.
Yeah, actually, in Ragnarok, you have Crusader to Paladin, then Royal Guard. So that's one example of a game that actually has those subsets. Now, we're going to talk about the most famous subsets that appeared all over the history of gaming.
Yeah, some of these subsets they keep reappearing in different games. You have for the warrior class. For the warrior class, you typically have a defender, the defender, and then you have the berserker.
The berserkers,
These classes, this warrior class is often very focused on offense. Trading offense for or trading defense. All of the defensive options for offense. Then you have the defender, which is the complete opposite of that. And in some cases, some of these warrior classes even have hybrid classes with one of the other
main
classes. Yes. Basically, you have the sword mage. Then you have the
duelist.
The duelist.
The two-hand dual-wielding swordsman.
It's like it's sort of a rogue type.
It's
swordsman.
an agi-based swordsman or warrior.
Yep.
That wields two swords, two one-handed swords, and are very agile. They traded their natural defense for a faster attacking speed, and they also, contrary to popular belief, they can also defend using parries instead.
Yeah.
and riposts, counter riposts.
You
But-
also have the paladin types.
Mhm.
Paladin, basically, you have these paladin types are swordsmen with divine spells.
They can heal. They can cast, I don't know, revive, I guess.
And then the sword mage, which is really, I don't see it a lot anymore.
The sword mages, in recent newly released games, they are reviving the sword mage. So these are one-handed swordsmen that have the power of magic in them.
Yeah.
So they are either very versatile in either melee or range combat, but aren't really proficient in either one of them.
Yes.
They are a very hybrid class that can surprise people.
Yeah.
If they might just poke using melee damage, then
Yeah.
suddenly surprise people with a hidden fireball.
Mm-hmm.
That's the role of the sword mage.
Oh, you can really just group this into two. You have the warrior class and the thief class, right? In the thief class, there's also a lot.
Yeah, there's so many.
There's also a lot of subsets that, or rather, classes that evolved from that over the years.
Let's just talk about the most famous ones.
Go ahead, John.
So again, the rogue class from earlier, they are also often called the thief class.
Yes, often
And
called the thief class. Yes.
The roles are often intertwined with each other, but actually they are different jobs. The thief class focuses on pickpocketing, what do you call this? Steals, poisons, light poisons, dodging, evading, etc. Then you have the actual rogue class who's focused on both range and melee attacks. Dodging doesn't have as much stealing skills as the thief class. Then you have the assassin class, which focuses on killing things. I have this story. So the one in Dungeons and Dragons, one of the conditions to get to be an assassin is to be at least neutral or chaotic.
Yeah.
And be evil. So I put neutral evil. Then another condition is to kill one of your party members.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's one of the conditions of that. Yes.
Is that what your dungeon master set?
No, it's
or is
one
it
of
on the rule
rules.
books?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I suddenly wanted to be an assassin, but I didn't tell anyone. So we were in a dungeon run. Then one of the cleric.
Oh my god!
Our dwarven cleric.
Easiest target.
Yes, he was down to 2 HP and was asking me for a potion. I gave him poison, and then the dungeon master said, "You were handed poison, and immediately you drank it. You died." Then he looked at me and congratulations, you are now an assassin. That's one of the best things ever. I didn't tell anyone, and a lot of the people there was shocked.
Well, if you're an assassin, they shouldn't see you coming, right?
Yeah. And that after that, we restarted the run. We got quote unquote got another party member.
Yeah.
That one I killed. I just said sorry, but I really wanted to be an
to
assassin.
start a new character sheet.
Yeah, to start a new character. It was sad because we were all level 5 at that point, and he was back to 1. Well, anyway, that's the assassin from the rogue thief class. Then you have another subset, which is the archer class, which focuses fully on range physical damage. Uses crossbows, short bows, long bows, the slingshots, rocks, whatever. And even the archer class has subsets now.
Yes.
The beastmaster and the trapper classes. So the beastmasters often are those people that focuses on the archer's ability to communicate with beastkin and beasts actually, and the trappers focuses on the archer's ability to lay traps for the enemies.
This happened when archers started to get known, or rather started being called rangers in most games.
And this also started when most archers, or the most famous archers, are from the race of the elves.
Oh my!
Yes, it all started with that.
Yeah, you know how we're just talking about classes in general here. Basically, these classes again, they reappear in a lot of RPGs,
Media.
and a lot of these classes just branch out into newer classes.
A million other classes. Then we have the mage. So the mage can be classified mostly. This is the, what do you call this? Most common branching of mage spells. You have the elemental mage and the light and dark mage. Yeah. So the elemental mage mostly focuses on the four elements in gaming, which is fire, water, thunder, and wind. And just elements. Okay, so fire, water, thunder, earth, and wind. You have that.
Heart.
And heart. Go planet. Yeah. So they mostly manipulate all the elements of earth to create massive spells.
Yes.
Then you have the light and dark, which manipulates the energy of light and darkness, as the fucking name suggests, to deal doom upon their foes. That's the common names or common skill descriptions. And the elemental mages, oftentimes they call them the elementalists.
Yeah, it's like you have these light and dark mages. They're more spiritual, and then you have the elementalists.
The nature.
Where, they call upon nature or command nature to form these elements out of thin air. So that's how mages usually are. And then again, you see traces of these classes in other classes, like the swords or the warrior class, wherein you have the sword mage, and then you also have
one of the scariest class is the, what do you call this, illusionist, or whenever you mix the rogue class and the mage class, that's definitely a fucking scary class, because not only do they hide and then they just flick fireballs at you, then they hide and flick fireballs.
They create clones of themselves.
Yeah, they create clones of themselves. They use the tactics of the rogue class to do whatever it takes to win.
Yeah.
Combine it with the awesome magics of the mage class, and you have one hell of a scary class or job in a game. Then if you combine the mage with the cleric class, you get the necromancers, the druids.
The druids.
And those are... They're too weird to... Actually, just search necromancer or druid. Necromancers command the dead and druids command nature.
Yes.
Okay, so...
Primarily, druids have control over animals.
And can shape-shift into animals.
Can shape-shift into animals. Also capable of a lot of defensive spells and debuffing spells via the earth's natural stuff, like, entangling them in grass, vines,
entangling roots,
stuff like that.
Entangling roots, untouchable.
Then the necromancer will normally in the real world, necromancers are capable of talking to the dead. That's their primary role.
That's their only role.
That's their only role. But
in games,
these,
they can raise dead.
Yes, they can raise an army of the undead, skeletons, shit like zombies and shit.
Blood golems. Flesh golems.
Also capable of
summoning ravens and worms.
No, they're also capable of sending out spells as well.
Spirit spells.
Spirit spells and shit. So yeah, it's like a combination of a cleric and a mage, really.
Speaking of clerics, the cleric class is one of the most interesting classes to have subsets, because it's divided into two major roles: the defensive cleric, which focuses on healing, buffing, the support cleric, and the very offensive cleric, also known as the monks.
Yeah.
So the support clerics, they call them in a lot of games. They call them the priests, the ascetics, and these are very religious character classes. Wait a minute, because hey Mochi, don't be too agitated. So these are very support oriented classes. They heal, they provide buffs, they support, they revive, and they make sure that your party doesn't die. Kind of like what the original cleric was made for.
Yes.
But now you have the offensive clerics, the monks. These monks uses the power of holiness or whatever being they represent to smite their foes.
Yes. Basically enhance their physical capabilities. They are capable of standing toe to toe against warriors. Any warrior class really. Also, they also have.
They can one shot people with Asura Strike.
And in some cases, they also have divine spells with them. Clerics can also be nukers. There are
holy bolts.
Yeah, there are also grand spells and the plethora of spells that clerics can use, like Hammer of the Hammer of the Gods. Any smite spell.
A lot of lightning spells also can be attributed to clerics as well, because again in the old games, lightning is a form of light, and light,
also typically tied to gods.
Yes.
How gods communicate is by sending out lightning.
Yeah, that's the thing. And also there are clerics in recent, not really that recent, but like 10 20 years ago, you have the dark clerics now.
The dark clerics, yes. I forgot what they were called in the D&D.
Yeah, they're
Blackguard or something.
Oh, like cabal thing, like kind of like that. And what they do is they focus mostly on debuffs, and although they can also heal, like with Shadow Word, there's things like that. But most of them do debuffs instead of buffs. So they debuff an enemy, or they provide buffs to a certain character but lower another stat of theirs. For example, there's a drawback. For example, they are gonna raise the strength of a warrior class or a certain class but lower their int. That would be perfect for warrior classes, but
they don't even use int.
They don't even use int. But if there's an intro, they die.
Like they need to resist a mind spell or something like that.
They probably won't be able to resist and just attack the people with increased strength.
Also, these dark clerics, their healing spells are inverted. Some of the healing spells become inflict harm spells. Instead of heal minor wounds, it becomes inflict minor wounds.
Yes, there are a lot of reverse spells like that, and also there's greatly heal your ally but inflict him with confusion. There are the Shadow Word, those kinds of spells. They have massively boosted capabilities, but has a drawback in them. So those are the dark clerics.
Also, they typically need you to be evil. If the game has an alignment system to it, they need in order for you to become that class, you need to be evil.
And it doesn't matter if you're lawful, neutral, or chaotic, but you need to be evil in order for you to be a dark cleric. So again, I think the monk is a combination as well of the warrior and cleric class. No, that's a paladin. I think the monk is a rogue cleric combination. Yes, because the monks are more agile than the paladin class.
And typically they're unarmed or armed lightly with knuckles.
Mostly it's knuckles or like katars.
Sometimes clubs.
Clubs. That was the weird part. Why do they have clubs? No, I think if this originated from the Asura, the Raja, they have like, I don't know what weapon it is from India, like small little spears that look like squids.
Oh, okay.
Those types of weapons.
I seem to remember this from an anime called Shulato. All of them had these sort of daggers that they carry. It's like a twin blade, but it's very short. It's super short. You just hold it in your hand. It really doesn't do anything.
For some reason, it really doesn't do anything, but they hold it on their... It's a common thing for old monks to use that weapon as well. I think they in case they use, in case they miss, it will still graze the...
Or maybe just hardens their fist.
Fist, yeah. And hardened fist means a hardened resolve. For some reason. I don't know. It's their thing. Well, that's the most popular classes of the main classes. I think we need to do another in-depth for an in-depth warrior class, an in-depth mage class, and we are gonna invite several people who loves to play a certain
play these roles.
Play these roles because we although we know everything about them, it still beats the shit out of everything if someone who's actually addicted to that certain role. I know a lot of people who just I really want to play support. Yeah, there are a lot of people like that, and we would like to interview them and let them share their own word to you guys about how to play a certain class correctly.
Oh.
Yeah, let's do that. Like how to cleric, how to warrior, like that.
Oh, and before, because we're nearing the end of the episode, before we end this episode, I just want to lightly mention John's new video about closers.
Oh, thank you.
Make sure to visit his YouTube channel and watch that video if you like it. Yeah, subscribe. I'll put a link to that in the description below. I just wanted to mention because in this game you are also provided with classes, but in the form of characters with actual backstory, personalities, and all that stuff. So that's also another evolution of classes nowadays. You are given characters instead of typical classes, just like in your typical MOBA game, like your Dota or your League of Legends. You're all given characters now. Although they all fall under an umbrella, like
the tanks, the supports, the carries, the nukers, the disablers, whatever. Even though these games are the most popular games right now, even though you have your own, what do you call this, class, you are given a certain character. Why? Because for a lot of game developers, they want you to focus on the gameplay and how you play the class instead of thinking, okay, how can I role play this? How can I role play that? You are already playing the role of blank. In Dota's case, you are already playing the role of Axe, of Rylai, and in Closer's case, you're already playing the role of Seiha or Jay or whoever. So, yeah, make sure to subscribe on my channel. It's Oh My It's John. YouTube.com/Oh My It's John.
Thank you very much for listening to us ramble about
classes
RPGs, and RPGs. Again, if you like our video, make sure to click on that like button. And that helps us a lot.
That helps us a lot. Please do, because we are very addicted to our analytics.
Also, subscribe to our channel and click on the bell button for notifications. If you want to see or listen to our new episodes right away, make sure that you have the notifications turned on by clicking on that bell button.
Every time we release a video, after like a minute or so, it will notify you immediately, so you can check out and hang out more with us. Also, we have social. Really, John? What's wrong with your mouth recently? Anyway, we have social channels. So we have Facebook and Twitter. Be sure to follow and like our pages, because we oftentimes do updates there that we don't say or show in YouTube as well. So again, guys, thank you for watching or listening to the Promise and podcast. Again, this is John from Oh My It's John. Subscribe, y'all.
And this is Czar from Chindera Beats. We'll be waiting for your comments because we'd like to talk to you more about
Yes, like seriously.
these things.
Okay, guys, thank you for listening. Bye bye.
Bye bye.